Hello and welcome. I'm glad you all could make it. I am SeeingBlue, and this is Mobile Genres, What Works and Why. A bit of quick framing first. A lot of genre talks stop at simulators are big right now. I'd rather spend our time on why they're big, what the loop is doing to keep people coming back, and which parts of it you can lift for your own worlds. Everything you'll see comes from my own research into top performing worlds across the four major UGC platforms pulled over the last 3 weeks. One honest caveat before we start, this is a read on what's winning at the top, not a full consensus of everything out there. So treat the numbers as direction. Be sure to subscribe. If you miss any part of the video or past videos or future videos, this is the location where they'll be put up, usually about a week or so later. So what will we cover? 6 parts. Part 1 is the frame. 3 lenses we judge every genre by. Part 2 is why the platforms differ and why that should change what you build, because the same genres behave completely different depending on the lead loop a platform rewards. Part 3 is what works and why, the winning genres and the loops underneath them. Part 4 pulls out the common DNA, the through lines every winner shares, including the still a brain rot wave. I probably will mess that up several times. The still a brain rot wave that's blowing up everywhere at once. Part 5 is the practical half, how to get in, plus the traps that don't carry over from one platform to another. And part 6 is yours. So bring your questions. 5 things you should be able to do by the time we wrap up. 1, score any genre on 3 lenses, how many players it pulls, how long it holds them, how long it keeps earning. That's reach, stickiness, and durability. We build up vocabulary on the next slide and reuse it the whole hour. 2, and this is where most of our time goes, explain why the winners win. Not the fact that simulators or social chase games are hot, but actual loop and psychology underneath it. So you can apply what works in your own worlds. 3, read the cross-platform pattern. What travels between platforms and the traps where the same genre is a live driver on one and a slow compounding library on another. 4, spot an under-contested lane instead of fighting the crowd or a spike. That gap filler matters more than chasing or whatever's trending this week. And 5, pitch your next world with a real reason it'll land. Scored honestly across all 3 lenses, walk out with those 5, and this hour's did its job. This is the frame for the whole hour. 3 cards you'll judge every genre against. Reach, live player plus growth right now. How many are in the room and which way the line is pointing this week. Stickiness. Stickiness is minutes per session. Once they're in, how long do they actually stay? Durability is lifetime library value. How long a world keeps earning visits after the launch spike fades. One thing on durability I want to flag, I'm using the median, not the average. A genre can have 2 or 3 mega hits dragging the mean up while everything else is thin. So the median is the honest read. Now the trap at the bottom, and its mistake I see most. These are 3 different games. A genre can dominate one lens and lose the other 2. People collapse all of it into one fuzzy word, popular, and they get it wrong. So every genre I show you gets scored on these 3 metrics, the reach, the stickiness, and the durability. This is the idea I want you to carry into the genre section. Same genres win across all 4 platforms, but the platforms aren't interchangeable because each one rewards a different lead loop. Look at the 2 cards. On the left is the progression and identity market. People come to build, collect, and be someone. That audience rewards long sessions and social worlds. The libraries there compound for years. That's the shape of the big Roblox roleplay and simulation world. On the right is the competition and spectacle market. People come to compete and be watched. That one rewards huge live concurrency, fast requeue, and clippable moments. And it churns faster, so you're iterating constantly. That's Fortnite's PvP and parkour swarm. Underneath both, in that band across the middle, is one shared habit. Phone first play. One thumb controls a loop you grasp in under 15 seconds, sessions measured in minutes. Even the headset-born platforms reach players on phones now. And that's why the dark band at the bottom matters for what you build. The same genre plays a different role depending on which loop a platform rewards. It can be a live driver in one market and a durable evergreen in another. So the question isn't just which genre, it's which genre for which market. That's the key to the rank flip you're about to see. So two charts, same story told twice. On the left is the progression-led market, ranked by share of live players. Simulators, tycoons, and idle games sit on top. Roleplay and identity worlds next. PvP third. RPG and survival round out the rest. On the right is the competition-led market, ranked by peak concurrency, and the order looks different. PvP owns half of the room. Obby and parkour next, then simulators. Look past the reordering, and the families are the same. Progression, competition, social identity. Those are the gravity wells in both markets. Even though the audiences barely overlap, the number I want you to walk out with is at the bottom. Three genres pull 2/3 of live players on one side and 4/5 of peak concurrency on the other. Attention is brutally concentrated, and it pulls in the same few places everywhere I looked. The repetition across very different rooms is worth more than a single percentage on that chart. Same families win in both markets. So why does the order flip? Each market rewards a different lead loop. The left column ranks genres by live players in the progression-led market. Simulators set at the top at 34%. Play and identity are the clear number 2 at 19%, and then PvP at 13%. The right column ranks peak concurrency in the competition-led market. The whole thing reshuffles. PvP jumps to first at 51%. Obby and parkour take a second at 22%, and simulators drop all the way down to third at 11%. The dashed lines on the screen are the tail. Simulators and PvP both appear in both columns, and they swap ends. Simulator is number 1 where people come to build. Third, where they come to compete. PvP does the exact reverse. Same genre, different job, depending on the loop the platform pays out for. That's the whole point. You're not just picking a genre, you're picking it for a market. And carry that banner at the bottom into the next 3 sections. Simulators win the day. Identity worlds win the decade. A big live share is not the same thing as lasting value. And that gap is what we dig into next. If you only carry one genre family out of this hour, make it this one. Simulator, tycoon, and idle is the single largest slice of live players in my research. 34 in the progression-led market, bigger than anything else. But look at the bar chart on the right, because the growth is the real story. New visitors over the last 3 weeks. This cluster added 3.21 billion, and the next genre, PvP, is way back at 1.74 billion. Survival and roleplay trail further. It's number 1 momentum by a mile. And it isn't just a Roblox thing. The same loop independently top charted in competition-led market as well, where a driving sim grew over 300%, and Meta's own Horizon with Miner Tycoon and Bobber Bay fishing. When the same pattern wins across 4 different audiences, that's human behavior, not a platform quirk. Grow a Garden 2, 465,000 live, one of the biggest worlds running right now. Pet Simulator 99, 94,000 live at 94% like ratio. Huge reach and great sentiment at once. Fish it, 104,000 live, the newest one wearing the same shape. The scorecard up top tells you where this genre actually sits, though. Reach is high, stickiness only middling, and durability is low. Next slide is why it pulls like this. So this is the engine under the hood. 6 hooks on the slide and they stack. Number go up. The counter only ever climbs. There's no win state, so a player is never finished. That's the whole reason the genre wins on raw volume. Then variable ratio pulls, egg hatches, and crate opens pay out on the same unpredictable schedule that makes slot machines compulsive. The boring grind exists to fund the random jackpot, and Pet 99 is built entirely on hatching. Rebirth. You'll voluntarily wipe your progress for a permanent multiplier, which turns one system into near endless content. That's how a tiny team ships something that feels infinite. Offline progress. Grow a garden's crops keep growing while you're logged off. So reopening pays you even before you play. Appointment timers put a clock on the next chest and schedule you back in, which maps cleanly onto a phone-shaped day. Check in, collect, leave. And the last one ties it together. One input, interruptible, no penalty for stopping mid-action. That's the line at the bottom. One loop, 4 amplifiers, sitting on one thumb controls. That's native mobile loop. Force 2 is Force 1 with social detonator strapped on. Take the progression core we just walked through and add one verb, steal. Your auto-generated gains sit on a public pedestal, and any real player can walk up and carry them off. That's the whole format, and the meme cast on top is what gets filmed. Look at the scorecard in the corner. Reach is very high, stickiness is considered mid, and durability is low. This wins the room fast and cools fast. It's the only meta genre in all my research blowing up on every platform at the same time. Meta's own horizon included. The flagship card on the right is still a brain rot, 170,000 live, 70 billion lifetime visits, and 162 million of those added in just the last 3 weeks. It's also a top 12 world on horizon. Kick a Lucky Block is the second card, around 81,000 live and a 95% like ratio. One of the highest sentiment worlds I measured. And the format's already ported into the competition-led market as Fight a Lucky Block, sitting at 405 peak concurrent. The clones ship weekly. This is a wave and it's moving fast. Why does bolting steal onto an idle loop make it detonate? Start with emotion. A solo idle game gives you a pleasant climb. This makes your loot sit on public display, so wins and losses are visible. And every session turns into a status economy other people can raid. Taking from a real person, manufacturers a kind of volatility a solo loop just can't. And notice the design move. Devs didn't patch the griefing out. They balanced it with steal cooldowns. The mischief is the verb. Now look at the flywheel on the right, because this is where the leverage is for us. An in-world moment, a theft or a comeback becomes a 30 to 90 second high variance clip. That clip racks up views on TikToks and shorts, and viewers walk straight into the world with zero tutorial and loops back in. Discovery happens off platform, not in platform search. Your marketing is free and external, and that flywheel is the moat, not the code. And that's the catch. This whole cluster sits at the bottom of the durability table, around 3.1 median lifetime visits. The meme will cool. So build the evergreen progression loop first and bolt the meme skin on second, so the game outlives the trend that launched it. Force 3 works differently from the first two. 1 and 2 were each a single genre. This one bundles 3 siblings: PvP, parkour, and horror. I'm grouping them because they all win the same thing, a live snapshot. Open any of these platforms right now, and the most players are sitting in one of these three. The chart splits in two ways. In the competition-led market, it's lopsided. PvP and fighting at 51%, obby and parkour at 22, horror and escape at 9. Add those up and it's over 80% of live attention in three genres. In progression-led market, the same three are second only to simulators, with PvP at 13% and horror at 6. Look at obby bars. The line right under the chart calls it out. It's a top 3 live genre on competition side and barely 2% on the progression side. The next slide is why. What ties these three together is the shape of the loop. Short, legible, and players' own skill or nerve is the variable. The round resets in seconds, and the results are worth watching. That last piece does more work than people expect, and I'll come back to it. The scorecard reads high on reach, middle on stickiness, and low on durability, which is the profile for the whole course. This is the first of 3 live attention genres, and PvP owns the crowd. On Fortnite, it's half of all competitive peak demand, which is the 51% you saw earlier. But it isn't one giant game carrying that number. It's the red versus blue pattern called out in the evidence line. Dozens of near identical symmetric team maps, each pulling a few hundred concurrent in the 330 to 445 range, with several spiking between 150 to 500% inside of the 3-week window. That same line names the 2 flagships from the progression-led market, Rivals at 190K live, a genuinely competitive shooter, and Jiu-Jitsu Shenanigans at 184,000, a real fighting game with combos and cancels under an anime skin. So why does this convert? 2 reasons. Mastery is the product. The win reads as something you did, and that pulls you back into the queue much harder than watching a counter tick up in a simulator. And failure is cheap, which is the call-out box on the right. Symmetric spawns plus instant respawn mean dying costs you seconds, not progress. Losing turns into go again instead of start over, and that's what lets a competitive genre pull in the casual crowd and not just the sweats. 2 things on the scorecard. Reach is high, but stickiness sits mid-pack at 12 minutes a session. Even though this genre owns the live audience and durability is middling, around 5.7 median visits. One bonus lever, competitive framing rides real-world events on demand. World Cup 26 soccer fight jumped 312% just by being timely. Obby is the genre people misread. So look at the 2 cards side by side. On the left, the competition-led market, Parkour and Death Run are a top 3 live block, 22% of peak concurrency. Trick shot maps sitting at 440 to 513 range. A Death Run like Strawberry Death Run Master up 310% within my window. Precise movement is why it lands as a live activity there. Mantling, slides, sprint, B-hops all feel good moment to moment, so people stay in the room. On the right, the progression-led market tells the opposite story on the live lens. Obby is only about 2% of live players at any instant, but Tower of Hell alone has roughly tens of thousands of people in it right now and 27 billion lifetime visits with 11 million favorites. That's not a dead genre. That's a library most live chart games never touch. Why so little live share? Session shape. And obby is short and high churn. You clear it or you rage quit in minutes. So almost nobody is sitting inside any one obby at a given second, even though billions pass through over time. Read it on durability, not concurrency. The genuinely distinctive thing is satisfaction. Obby is the most polarizing genre I've measured. The lowest like ratio of anything, around 76%, across the genre and 73% for Tower of Hell itself. That's punishing difficulty plus a long history of free Roblox bait clones, not a sign the genre is fading. So the takeaway line at the bottom sums it up. Match the genre to the lens and expect a polarizing like ratio you read as a signal, not a knob that you tune. We'll get into more of that a little bit later. But the last of our live attention is horror and escape. Horror is the smallest of the three live attention genres, about 10% of competitive peak concurrency, but it's one of the cleanest lessons if you're a small team. The loop's right there at the top. Explore, solve a light puzzle, run from the thing, escape or die, retry. The three panels are why it works. First, cheap, reliable thrill. A real heart rate spike comes from lighting, distorted audio, and an encounter you delayed just long enough. That's enormous emotional payload per build hour, and it's exactly why a tiny team outpunches a big one in this genre. Second, co-op multiplies it. Play with friends and the panic spreads over voice chat. And that shared fear, then relief, is the actual product. It's also why these get streamed in groups and not just played. Third, instant recognizability. The hook players already understand does your tutorial and marketing at the same time. Now, in the wild, a lot of horror hits get that recognizability the cheap and risky way. They borrow a known monster. Hello Neighbor at 603 concurrent. Poppy Playtime at 568, both writing search demand for a brand they don't own. I'm showing you that because it's what the data shows, but it's the thing not to copy. Naming or skinning your world to ride someone's protective IP is infringement and a takedown waiting to happen. And it's a borrowed audience you never owned. The version that looks like a hook that's recognizable on its own terms, the version that lasts is one you've built or properly licensed. Look at the top line again. Dandy's World, 79,000 live at a 92% like ratio. That's the genre done with an original hook and sentiment intact. This table is the whole point of the live attention force, laid out in one place. Reach, stickiness, and durability are three separate columns, and the live attention genres win the first one while coming up short on the other two. Look at the stickiness column. PvP owns 51% of competitive concurrency, but its median session is 12 minutes, mid-pack. Obby trails at 10, horror at 12. Now compare the benchmark row at the bottom. Roleplay and sim set at 16 and 15. People show up to compete, but they don't linger the way they do elsewhere. Then durability, the median lifetime visits column. PvP reads 5.7 million, Obby 5.8. The roleplay benchmark is 11, roughly double. So these are genres you iterate on with a steady update cadence, not one forever title you ship and walk away from. Two retention traps the winners design against. Jump scares stop landing the second time, which is why Dandy's World stacks co-op and progression on top of the scare. And a steep skill ceiling scares off newcomers, which is why Rivals and Jujitsu Shenanigans keeps the meta characters free and respawns fast. Last column, like percentage. Everything here clusters in the 82 to 92 band. And that's the entry fee, not your edge. One sale flagged in red is Obby at about 76%. That's not a number you tune your way out of. It's a flare that Obby is genuinely polarized. Love it or rage quit it, even though it's a huge, durable genre. This is the genre I'd point you at if you want a library that keeps earning. Look at the chart on the right. Median lifetime visits by genre. Roleplay and identity worlds sit near the top at 11.5 million. Just under sports at 11.9 and just above horror at 11.1. and about 3.5 times the simulator floor of 3.1 million down in the red. That's the durability story in one bar. The reason it lasts is on the bullet that calls it the double win. Identity is both durable and the number 2 live genre at 19% of live players. Most genres win one lens or the other. This one wins reach and lasting value at the same time. Why does it compound for years? Because identity is renewable. You can finish a map. You never finish being yourself. There's no end state to bounce off and no skill ceiling that kicks casual players out. So the visits keep stacking. That's the loop in Brookhaven, in Adopt Me, in Dress to Impress, picking an outfit and being judged on it daily. And these are the stickiest worlds I measured. Look at that line under the chart. Even in the competition-led market, role play posts the largest median session of anything, 16.5 minutes, ahead of every combat genre. People linger where they get to be someone. The catch is on the caution bullet. The loop is dead without a live crowd. So a cold start hurts here more than anywhere, and the open social space carries a moderation load a parkour map never touches. This is a marathon, not a spike. Survival co-op is the genre that bridges both halves of my research. It tops live reach, and it can build a durable library. The hero stat on the right is 99 nights in the forest. 218,000 people in it at once, and one of the biggest live worlds I've tracked. Underneath, 27.3 billion lifetime visits at a 90% like ratio. It's third by momentum in the last 3 weeks, with over 1 billion new visits. The number I'd point you to is 195 median players per world, the fullest room of any genre. When a survival game lands, it packs a crowd. The scorecard up top reflects that. Reach is high, stickiness is high, durability only middling, because the genre is hits driven. 99 Nights is a giant, but the genre median sits at a thin 2.6 million visits. So most survival worlds are perishable. The mechanics is the most reliable bounding tool I found. Put a big group around one camp, one supply tool, a threat that ramps every night, and players end up needing each other to get through it. Shared risk plus interdependence turns a lobby into a group people remember. It's the same belonging payoff roleplay gets over months, compressed into one tenth session. And that compression is what drives the live reach. Precaution sits in the last bullet. Bonds only form if players genuinely need each other. Split the roles, force one shared resource. If everyone can survive solo in parallel, you've thrown away the whole advantage. These 3 genres never top a concurrency chart, and that's exactly why I want you to look at them. Tower defense and sports/racing are the best loved things in my research. Sports sits at 94, almost 95% like ratio. Tower defense at 93, almost 94 like percent ratio. Right at the top of everything I measured. And they last. That chart on the right is median lifetime visits. Sports/racing leads the whole table at 11.9 million. Tower defense at 7. RPG and adventure at 7. That's the genre carrying 8% of live players. Look at the bar at the top. Simulator, the genre everyone's chasing, at 3.1 million. These 3 roughly double it. Why do they hold? They all sell mastery of a system you can actually read. Optimizing a tower lane, a team composition, a character build. That's a puzzle a player feels themselves getting better at, and a deeper meta keeps the experts around long after the novelty wears off. Clean competitive physics and a character you've invested in don't rot the same way meme skins does. There's no trend to go stale, so you get durability without running a content treadmill. That's the gap filler read in the corner. Low contention, high durability, top sentiment. That's a lane nobody's crowding and a smarter place to put a well-tuned system than fighting the sim and brain rot crowd for a spike. Now we're going to start speeding this up a bit. 7 cards, and across every platform and genre in my research, the worlds at the top share all 7. 1. The premise is legible in under a second. The title is the tutorial. Still a brain rot tells you the verb and the goal before you tap. 2. The loop is short and self-contained, so it survives a 90-second bus ride and still rewards a 30-minute setting. 3. Social by default. Other players are the content, not a feature you bolt on. 4. Low input complexity. 1 thumb, no twitch skill, interruptible mid-action, and that low floor is what scales reach. Mean velocity does your user acquisition for free. A 15-second clip of a theft or a clutch is an ad that loops people back in. 6. Live ops cadence is the retention engine. The update calendar is the business, not the launch polish. 7. Remix culture. Writing a proven loop and differentiating is a legitimate, dominant way to grow. Look at the note in the empty corner. Not one of these 7 is better graphics, and that's worth mentioning. One quick myth buster before we get to strategy, because that's the number everyone fixates on. Look at the bars. Every winning genre clusters between 88 to 95%, and the call-out card on the right names that band. Sports and racing top it at 94, almost 95. Tower defense at 93.8, RPG 92.6, then horror, simulator, survival, PvP, and roleplay all stacked tight down to about 88. That clustering tells you something. A high like ratio isn't a moat, it's the entry fee. Strong sentiment is what gets you past the platform's recommendation bar. It doesn't by itself predict whether you break out. The proof is the 1 red bar. Obby on Roblox sits at 76%, the lowest of any genre. And Tower of Hell lives right there with 27 billion visits behind it. So a low like ratio doesn't mean a dead loop. It means a polarizing one. Love it or rage quit. One more, and it should change how you think about polish. Roleplay, the most durable genre on the board, doesn't have the top like ratio. It wins on belonging, not on being universally loved. So don't grind towards that 95. The real differentiator are your loop, your update cadence, and what you deliver the first 30 seconds. This is the full version of the teaser I opened with. 3 columns, 3 completely different ways to read what's winning, because creators jam them together all the time. Reach is live players plus growth. Simulators and social chase wave own that column, 34.2% of all live players and 3.2 billion new visits in the last 3 weeks. And PvP owns the competition side at 51% of peak concurrency. The catch is right there on the card. Reach rents attention week to week. Stickiness is minutes per session, and a different set of genres wins. Roleplay sets at 16.5 minutes, simulator at 15.6, both ahead of PvP's 12. People stay longer in worlds where they get to be somebody. Durability, median, lifetime visits, and order flips again. Sports at 11.9, roleplay at 11.5, horror at 11.1. While simulator churns fastest at 3.1 million, basically the floor. So high reach genre is a treadmill you feed with relentless live ops. A durable genre is a slow library play that compounds for years. That's the line at the bottom. Simulators win the day, identity wins the decade. Decide which axis you're optimizing for. Same handful of genres winning on 4 platforms that share almost no audience or input method. Top left, Roblox, simulator and social cues, survival co-op like 99 Nights in the Forest at 218,000 live players, and identity worlds like Brookhaven at 83 billion visits and Adopt Me at 43 billion. Top right, Fortnite, PvP and Red vs. Blue, Parkour and Death Run, IP Horror, and a Fight the Lucky Block Riff. Bottom left, VR Chat, Pure Social Presence, Popcorn Palace, Watch Party and Hangout World, Social Deduction and Murder 4, the Belonging Loop again, no skill required. The bottom right, and this is the one I'd point at, Horizon, Meta's own platform, mirroring the same winners. VR High School, Classroom Roleplay, Classmates Roleplay, Minor Tycoon, Bobber Bay Fishing, and Still a Brainrot itself sitting in the top worlds. Look at the banner. Still a Brainrot is a Roblox top tier world at plus 862 million visits in the last 3 weeks, a Fortnite Variant family, and a top 12 Horizon world all at once. The genre travels with the meme, not the engine. When something repeats across 4 ecosystems that different, you're looking at a human need, so build for the need and the loop ports. Honest note though, my Horizon and VR chat samples are thin, so read those two as confirming patterns, not a sizing market. You already know how to build a world. This is about where to aim that skill. Step 1, pick a loop my research already proved works rather than betting on something untested. Clone and differentiate is how almost everything at the top got there. Step 2, add exactly one twist. Still a Brainrot is a tycoon core with a single still verb bolted on. And that one legible hook is the whole innovation. You want a hook people read instantly, not someone's protected IP. Step 3, design the first 30 seconds so the opening loop delivers the fantasy the title promised. Step 4, your name and thumbnail are your distribution. Verb first titles that state the loop, like grow a garden, and an icon that promises the payoff. Step 5, build the live ops calendar before you launch. Weekly drops and timed events are the retention engine, not the launch polish. And step 6, instrument everything and keep retuning. Likes set between 88 and 95% for every winner, so a clean ratio just keeps you in the funnel. It won't it won't rescue a weak opening loop. Watch early session drop off and fix the front of the game first. These 6 are failure modes I watch experienced creators walk into, mostly because they're carrying habits over from another platform. Input complexity is the big one. This is a mobile-first crowd, so a control scheme that quietly assumes a keyboard or twitch reflexes cuts out most of the people who'd otherwise try your world. Long onboarding is the next killer. A rough first-time experience is one of the surest ways to lose someone. So put the dopamine hit up front instead of behind a tutorial. Single session content is the trap horror creators fall into. A pure scare corridor spikes once and fades, which is why the durable ones bolt on co-op and progression on top. The social layer matters more than people think for expression and chase loops. These don't function in an empty room, so a cold start punishes them way harder than it would a skill game. Then the counterintuitive one, the one I'd flag hardest. Hobby is a top 3 live genre on Fortnite, and on Roblox, it's a low concurrency durable evergreen. Tower of Hell sets between 10 to 20,000 live players against nearly 28 billion lifetime visits. Same genre, same name, opposite role on the 2 platforms. And the last one, don't bet the whole world on the brain rot or lucky block wave. That meme is perishable. So build a core loop that outlives it and skin it second. So that big line is the whole hour in 4 words. Known loops, your execution. Across all 4 platforms, my research keeps surfacing the same handful of winning loops, and they've held for a while now. So the hard question was never what to build, it's how well you build it. And that comes down to the 3 things in the first bullet: your opening 30 seconds, your live ops cadence, and the one twist that makes your version the one people pick. Second bullet, and this is the one I'd actually act on, pick your axis on purpose: reach, stickiness, or durability. Decide which one you're chasing, then match the genre and the platform to it instead of hoping all three come for free. Build the evergreen core first, ride the meme second, because the loops outlive the trend. The last line is my caveat again. Everything here is 3 weeks of research into the top worlds. So it's direction, not gospel. Validate against your own builds. Thank you for your time and attention. Now, let's ask some questions. What regional market was this research based on? I went back and forth. I weighed a lot of options before I decided on this, but ultimately I basically landed on just Roblox, Fortnite, VR chat, and Horizon's top worlds that I could get access to. So that basically means the US market for the most part. How are you able to grab the info? I've researched Roblox but didn't find the numbers you were mentioning. It's a private project that I built myself. Everything should be publicly available though, through either their website or API. Were there games that did not so easily fit or neatly or easily fit simple categorization? I struggled with that in the beginning because I was being too narrow with my categories. So the categories like swelled. And then I was being like, well, does this go here? Does this go here? And it got really frustrating. Ultimately, that's why we ended up with what we did today. That's why we ended up with the genres that we did. And they were pretty, I even grouped some of them together, but they were pretty broad, I would say. I didn't find, in the end, though, I didn't find any actual outliers. And I think everything, once I had the broad categorization, everything pretty neatly somewhere. What is the longest range of average play times you think people will do at one time? The longest? I mean, it's kind of a loaded question because there's like, I mean, what platform are you talking about? What genre are you talking about? I mean, if we're on mobile, I mean, you're probably, and this is just a guess. I mean, looking at these numbers, no one really ran into a 20-minute range, right? On average, of course, if an average is 12, you got to imagine people did go 15, 20 minutes. And there's a large percentage of those that just kind of jumped in and jumped out for whatever reason. So I don't know what percentage to add on top of that medium number that would give you a good ballpark. But I mean, we saw most of our numbers were in the teens. Now, if it was on computer, if it was on PC, a console, completely different ball game, right? You're probably talking 30 minutes to an hour of average play time. All right. But I hope that helped. Appreciate you being here, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.